Hello and welcome back to the channel. This is part 12C, finalizing the recipe book and adding the functionality so that it actually does something. At the moment we can just browse through it. We're missing some items in our data assets. So without further ado, let's get that sorted out and get some functionality added to our recipe book. The first thing I'd like you to do is we're going to go into our data assets, our recipes, and I want you to open up both of your recipes. Okay, so this one is start with a bread and jam, and I'm just going to reference my previous one. So we've got our description. Now our ingredients list is a little bit short. At the moment we've just got bread and we've got no quantity. So we're going to add one to the bread, add another element, and this is going to be butter. And add one to that, add another element. Obviously it's going to be jam, add one to that. Utensils list, we're going to add one to, and that's our butter knife, add one to that. Cooking time, there isn't any. Now we do now have some icons, because remember last time, or time before, we imported the icons. So if we put in our UI, artwork, got our bread and butter here, like that, here's our icon. Our instructions and our stages should still be the same. You don't change them. Save that, close that, and do the same for the toast. Basically, the ingredients are the same. One on the bread, one on the butter, one on the jam. Add a utensil. That butter knife, one of them. That could be times 3. And we can go ahead and add our toast and jam icon. Everything else is the same. So they are now correct. So if we quickly go ahead and play that, get our recipe book, go on butter and jam, you can see we've got our utensil list and our icon all nicely displayed. And if we go next, again we've got them nicely displayed. Okay. We've done instructions, what we've got to do, what we need, so on and so forth. Good. So that's that done. We can go ahead and make sure we close those data assets. We don't need them. We don't need our chef open. We will probably need the kitchen manager open. But before we do any of that, what we do need is to do some little bit of work on our HUD interface. So we open up our interfaces, go to our BPI HUD, and let me just open up the same. Okay. So in here we've got set.color, add message to HUD, remove message to HUD, from HUD. We're going to add another function. And we're going to say pin recipe. And that can also be in our HUD. We can add another function, unpin recipe, and we can stick that in our HUD category. And we want one more, we'll fill these out in a moment, div pinned reference. Okay, so let's start with pin recipe. So it has one input, and that's the recipe. And it's of type DA underscore recipe. And unpinned recipe has no inputs, no outputs, nice and easy. Give pinned ref, which I didn't put in the HUD, so I put that in the HUD. Give pinned ref has one output, and that's what we're going to call that pinned recipe ref. And that's our pinned widget, okay? Not the line, the widget. Object reference, compile and save that. We can go ahead and close that. And we're going to need to open up our, first of all, we need to open up our HUD, I believe. Let me just double check. Yes, we do. So go to our content drawer, blueprints, 4 blueprints, and we're looking for that HC, the HUD class cooking. We're going to open that up. We've got two new interfaces to add, or 2 new interfaces to add. So we're going to start with a pin recipe. If we don't have anywhere to put it, so we should go ahead and do that first. So let's go ahead and do that first. Go to our UI folder, and we should have one. Where have I put that? A second, just do a quick search for it. I've lost the one I'm looking for. So let's filter this to be user interface. Oh yeah, UI main HUD, which is in UI main. I don't know why I didn't see that. Let's go where it is. Show folder view. It's the UI main HUD here. Brain not working. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and open that up. I'm just going to open it up also in my reference project. So in here we have our interaction message border, and we're going to simply add another border to our canvas panel. Click on it. I'm going to do the anchors to the top right, and we're going to do it as a clear that. Do that as a negative 332. Worked quite well for me. 32 for here. Size to content is checked, and we draw as, which is the important one, none. Okay, so we've got an empty widget border, and we should have it, I believe, should be a variable, and we're going to name this pinned recipe box or border, whatever you prefer. Okay, so in the graph we don't need to do anything, so we can go back to our HUD class. And in our HUD class, we are going to create a widget. And the class is going to be our pinned widget. And we need to do a little bit of work on that. So shall we go ahead and do that first, and then we can get it to work straight off the bat. So pinned widget class, we just need a size box, which has a width override. It doesn't have a height override because we don't know what the height will be. 300. Let's get desired on screen. Okay, and then we're going to add to that size box, we're going to add a border. And the border has a padding here, the lower padding, the content padding of 40, 80, 20, 30. Oh, did that wrong, didn't I? 40, 80, 20, 30. Okay. And our content, we go to our artworks folder, we make this pinned paper. That's going to be our graph. Ooh. Like so. So we've got this long, thin thing, but it will work out better as we add things to it. So it just looks a bit weird on here, but don't worry about that. So to that, we're going to add a vertical box. And to that, we're going to add a text. This is going to basically be the header. Don't worry, it's down the bottom there because we've got quite a bit of padding at the top. You could reduce that if you so wanted. And I'm going to set my text to my desired color and font. And I'm just going to call this ingredient, like so. If okay, we've got that. Now we are going to add to our vertical box, we're going to add a scroll box. No, we're not. I lied to you. We're going to add another vertical box. That vertical box, so it sits below that. We're going to set that to auto, no padding. Make sure it's a variable, that's very important. And we're going to call it ingredient underscore VB. Compile that. Go to our graph. And we need a couple of variables as always. First one is going to be data asset. And that's going to be of type DA recipe. And that must be instant editable exposed on spawn, which is why we couldn't go ahead and do what we were doing earlier. And we're going to add another variable I'm just going to call it lines for simplicity. And this is going to be pinned recipe line. And we're going to right click on that, make sure that is a or an array. Okay, quite simply in here because it's just a visual thing. Really, we don't need tick, we don't need pre-construct. So on construct, we're going to get our ingredient box. We're going to clear its contents, its children. So every time we make a new one, we start afresh. We're going to get our lines. We're also going to clear that out. We don't want anything left behind and adding stuff we don't need. We're going to get our data asset. We're going to get our ingredients list. We're going to for each through that. We could create a widget for each one. And it's going to be pinged recipe line. For some reason we've not exposed. So let's make sure we've exposed. We haven't actually made the pinned recipe line, so let's go ahead and make that a little bit. Okay, so this one at first is not going to be fully functioning, but we will be able to pin recipe and it will help anyway. So first of all, we're going to add a size box. We're going to look at the side of the screen. Size box, never mind. And we're going to set the size to height override, because we don't really know what the width is going to be, of 40. Okay, then we're going to, inside the size box, we're going to add a horizontal box. And inside the horizontal box, we're going to add three things. We're going to add a checkbox. And we're going to add text. And like I say, format your text first. And then duplicate it, so you don't do the same job more than once. Just making sure I've got everything correct. Okay, and this text is center aligned and kept to the left. Checkbox is kept to the left, center aligned. You could say all center aligned, as long as it's center aligned. And we can clear the name. We don't need a name in here, but we can duplicate it. So let's go ahead and duplicate it. First one is going to be called recipe name. It's not recipe name, is it? It's name underscore txt. Make sure it's a variable. This one we're just going to call quantity underscore txt. Again, make sure it's a variable. Now, quantity txt is there and fill. The recipe is also make sure it's fill. Not also. We have this. Now we're going to do a bit of work on our checkbox. So highlight your checkbox and First of all, we're going to use our unchecked image. So we'll go to our artwork folder. Our unchecked image is the red cross. You see it's huge. We just want to reduce the size of that to 32. And this won't get hovered on anything like that. So we can copy this and add it to all of our unchecked states. Okay, like so. Our checked image is going to be our green check, and the size is 32. And we can go ahead and copy this as well. Into the Hoverton Punch, Hoverton Press. And I believe that should do it for that. Okay, let's look in our graph. So get rid of these two, and do this on pre-construct. We're going to get our, we don't have it, we're going to add a new variable, we'll call it ingredients. DA, and that's DA underscore ingredient. Object reference, which is exposed on spawn and instant editable. Go ahead and duplicate that and call this one quantity. And that's type integer. Again, it's exposed on spawn, instant editable. So we can get our ingredient. We can get our name or item name. We can get our name text here. We can get text. Here. Copy and paste that because we're going to be needing that. And our quantity text is our target, the second one. We drag in our quantity. We get a format text from here. Remember, we did that last time, I believe. We want an X to say, you know, how many, as in quantity, and we're just going to do curly brackets, text, curly brackets. And here we're going to do the text integer. Going that to there. Okay, that's that. Then on event construct, I know I deleted them, but it doesn't matter. We can just get here, and the overall is construct. I'm going to say, we're going to make a very quick function. We're going to add a function. We're going to call it set box. We're going to get our checkbox, set checked. Now make sure you choose the correct one. You want set state, not just set checked, because we want to be able to change it one way or the other. From your check state, you can drag it into here. That's fine for that. And then we're going to add that to our event construct. And we're going to start with unchecked, because later on in the game, what we're going to do is we're going to have a mechanic where you have a prep table and you have to drop the correct ingredients on the prep table, which will then fill in the list Let's check that you've got the correct ingredients, and the correct quantity, and so on and so forth. But for now, they're just going to show up as X's, or you could just show them if you ever preferred it. Just check, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so we've got that done now. So now we can go back to our pinned widget, refresh our node. Now we see we've got the ingredients. I'm just finding it back in my other one. Okay, so the map key is the ingredient, the map value is the quantity. And sorry about that. Problem, dog's trying to hang itself. Okay, so we have our ingredients box. We get that. We add a child. Term value being the content. We drag it from here. Let's give us a couple of reroute note. We drag in our lines array and we just add. And we're adding this. We're making a line, which when we construct it, it fills it out from the information we're giving it. And then we are adding it to our lines. And then we're going to get our kitchen manager. And we are going to set pinned lines array, which is what we added to our interface last time. And we're going to drag in our lines here and join in on that. If these don't match up, check that you've got them correct. This should be the same. This should be the recipe line. And I believe that's all we have to do on here, so we can go ahead and compile that. And we can go back to our HUD class here. Now, so if we refresh the node, you see we've got that here, so we can add our recipe to there. Promote this to a variable. We're going to call it pinned recipe reference. Then we're going to get our main menu HUD reference here. We're going to get our pinned recipe box that we just added. First thing we do is going to clear the children. Whatever's in there, we're going to get rid of. And then we're going to go ahead and add a child. A nice new fresh one. And the child is going to be here. Like so. And that's that one. And the next one is unpinned recipe, which is very simple. Make that a bit easier. We're going to get this, copy, paste it, and simply clear children. That's all we need to do for this one. Just looking down through my list, is there anything else we need? Give pinned recipe. Okay, yeah, the give pinned recipe ref, we can fill that one in. That's going to be there. I believe that's all we added. Let's see, pin recipe, unpin, pin recipe. These we've used before. So that's done. Okay, so our HUD is done. That's ready to receive it. Let's go ahead and close down some of these unwanted things. So we can close down most of our widgets, HUD. Keep your Kitchen Manager open and your BPI just in case. Lines, you know, they're all working. Ingredient line, recipe line. Function library we don't need. Recipe book we may keep going in case we have a problem, but I don't know. We need better knife working because we need that later. So let's work on our recipe book, and we are going to go to our recipe pinned. And we're going to work on that. Last time we didn't do anything to it because we didn't have a lot of the functions already written, but now we do. We can go ahead and do it. So first of all, from checked, get a branch. And let's deal with the false first because it's nice and easy. Now we did make a function in our function library called getHub. If you've been following along with the series, if not, you have to get your player hub, cast strip, blah blah blah. This makes it a little bit easier. And we're just going to call unpin recipe on false. Okay, so if it's unchecked, take away the recipe. Nice and simple. Okay, then we're going to get our Kitchen Manager. And we're going to say start new order, message, make sure you get the message. The recipe is going to be this recipe. Do that now because we're going to add more to this one. And we made a, yes, we made toggle other recipes off function last time. We get that. Selected widget index is this one. Reload to that. Then after that, we're going to get our HUD again. And we're going to pin the recipe message. You see it's asking for our recipe, so let's go ahead and connect it. Quick overview. On the false, we're literally just unpinning the message. On true, we're starting a new order, so we're sending that we now have something to cook. We're turning off any previously toggled recipes inside the book so that we've only got one done. Then we're pinning the recipe, we're making the pinned recipe. So we can partially test that now. So if we click on our play, let me just do it full screen for you. Okay, so if I click on bread and jam, you see we've got a slight blur. If you want it more, you can add more. If I pin the recipe, you should have a recipe. It looks blurred because we've got blur, so I can untab that. And okay, it looks like I have a little problem with a font size there. We're overlapping a little bit. Let me just double check what I did for font size on recipe line. If I can find it. Okay. What did I do for font? I guess, yeah. Okay, so yeah. Solve that problem. Quickly go back to UI, open up your pinned line. Brilliant. these two there, change the font size down to 16. Let's solve that problem. You could also have made the other thing wider. So let's try it again. And there we have it. We've got a nice pinned recipe. We'll check, okay. We'll know what we're doing. If I go in, click it again, it unpins it. So that's working. If I click this one, go to next, then click this one, because the ingredients are the same, you won't really notice a difference, but it will at Tingle Previous. Should have unchecked it, but it hasn't. Okay, so we have a problem there. So let's find out what that is. If I go to here, go to there. Okay, that worked that one. Click that there. Doesn't work that way. Okay. Okay. We've got a little bit of a problem with that. So let's quickly look into that. Why is that causing me a problem? That'll be toggle other recipes off. Give me 1 sec, I will be right back. Okay, it's just me being silly. It was working fine. I was just trying to do it too quick. If we click on that one, bread and jam, click next, click on that one, previous, bread and jam's cleared. Click on and we click next. Toast with butter and jam is still selected. Go back to previous, click on there, make sure it's bread and jam, click next, that's cleared. So it is working as expected. Click that one off and it clears it all. Just me trying to test it too quick, and it appears to not be working. Okay, so we got that. So the next stage is we've got our recipe pinned. We're calling in our event graph, start new order. Okay. And that should do that part. Let's just check in the butter knife. I believe we have to change something in here. I can't quite remember. Get the correct blueprint up. Okay, so in our butter knife, in our finished spreading of events, right to the end here, after this completed check here, I'm going to delete the start new order, but you want to call clear selective recipe in book message. We'll link that to the true. And you want to get your HUD and unpin the message. Unpin the recipe. Because obviously you finished it, so this recipe no longer needs to be displayed. So it saves you having to unpin it manually. Now, let's go back to our kitchen manager. And we look at clear selected recipes in recipe book. We're going to get our recipe book reference, and we're going to say clear all text recipes. Remember, we made this last time. That runs that function. And I believe that is all we need to do. So let's go ahead and see if we can test it. So let's pin our recipe, do our bread and jam, because why not? Have our recipe closed. Okay, we've got all our items, and what I'm going to do, just to speed things up a bit, I'm going to already open my jam. I'm going to move my bread a little closer. I'll find it. Oh, not that close. There you go. Just to make life a bit easier, I'm going to use my knife, put some butter on it. There we go. Bread and butter, 1, 2. Got the jam, 1, 2. And you see our recipe has now cleared. We can now select it again. See it's unchecked here. And we can go ahead, get some butter on our knife. We can should be able to go ahead and find everything's working. Butter that one. And jam. Some jam. You see our jam is decreasing in the jar. And we can add our jam, and boom, away goes our recipe. And we're ready for the next one. Great stuff. That's all working. And the next one, what we're going to be doing is a little bit more UI work. We're going to be adding a chef's hints, chef's messages, so that basically it tells you what to do. Later on, we're going to be doing it so you can turn them on and off, so you don't want to have them all the time. But it's sort of like a tutorial, but it's also just like hints. And also, we can add some funniness to it. It's like if you're doing it wrong, it can give you a mild insult or whatever you want to do. So I'll see you in the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Like always, don't forget to like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Any questions, stick them in the comment section below, or join my Discord and ask me a question there. If you don't like it, click don't like. But if you do, please tell me why. But, tell me it's too long, you can't hear me, or you don't like the content, whatever. But just be civil. That's all I ask. If you're not civil, your comment will be deleted. If you like my work, don't forget you can also go ahead and join my Patreon. The links will be in the description below as always. Or you can buy me a coffee. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.